Hello. So welcome on our next live. I promised that today we're going to be speaking about something a bit different. Last time it was more about the nutrition, so today it's going to be a bit more about the mindset. And I'm going to give you examples from my members as well, what they've used and what helped them. So I gathered a few of the thoughts, and hello, Wesley. So I've gathered a few of the ideas from my members as well. So I'm going to share with you what actually helped my members and myself to get the results, and not only achieve results but actually sustain them in the long term. So I've got a little list that I've prepared. It may be a bit longer live today, okay, just so you know. So if you don't have much time, probably you'll be better off just catching up on this one later on. But in general, starting with the very beginning, I remember when I first started and did my Little Red Dress program. I think it was like 2020, the very first one, and at that point I was still looking onto the everyone's food log, what everybody was having. And when I've looked on the food log, I was like, there was no chocolate, there was like no crisps, there was nothing there. It was like perfectly, like everything was like fruit, veg, like protein, like yogurts, meat. So I've done the live on the on the Facebook at that point, and I said to my team, I said, where's chocolate? I said, where are crisps? And everybody was shocked at that. It was very first Little Red Dress program. Everybody was shocked. It's like, but we are on a diet. And you know what? And that was, for me, it was a big thing, because I think once, if you're used to diet in the past, dieting is very much like you restrict yourself from having things. And then it means like, oh, you can't drink alcohol, you can't have chocolate, you can't have crisps. And I think that was one of the biggest things that I started teaching and implementing with my members, that I said, like, just put that chocolate in. I said, like, I want to see next week them crisps on your, in your food log. I want to see that chocolate there. I want to see that, glass of the red wine. And I was surprised when I see the bottle of red wine as well. But surprisingly, it was only 500 calories. And I was like, wow, I didn't even know that the bottle of red wine's got 500 calories. Obviously, like, I'm not a big drinker. But I think that's one of the things that is really important, that once you want to lose weight and you want to achieve a result, you may think like you need to restrict yourself. That diet, it means that you need to resign from something to actually achieve results. Whilst you don't have to resign, you can just kind of slightly change and maybe adjust or make a food swaps. But to actually be able to do that, it's where it comes the awareness of the energy intake and calories. So sometimes I get asked like, oh, do I need to calorie count to lose weight? You don't have to. You can lose weight without. But once you calorie count and you use the app for it, you actually get the knowledge on what you're having. And that gets me to another story with one of the ladies. She was on my program, and she used to love like a creamy meals with the, like a full fat creams and sauces, and meat had to be like always like full fat. There was nothing that was like anything else. And I said, like, oh, could you make a swap? Just swap that, full fat cream for like lighter one. And she's like, no, I don't like it. And I said, like, hey, I said, like, could you maybe swap the meat, and instead of like having that full fat, just go for like a 2% fat one? And she's like, no, I don't like the taste of it. I said, like, okay. So if you're not willing to, resign, is just looking for a different option. So I said, like, okay, so that is your calorie target, and here is the app, and log your food and choose the food in your, in your day. So that's what she's done. She's been like logging just to seeing the actual calories in the food she was having. And as the time went on, she started losing weight. And I said, like, so what was I said, like, oh, do you still have that full fat cream? She's like, yeah. Do you still have the, the meat, the type of meat you like? She's like, yeah. I said, so what have you changed? And she said, like, oh, I've stopped snacking. And I said, like, I used to have like a chocolate bar in between, or having chocolates there and there. And then once I've realized, like, I've scanned it and I've seen like, oh, I say 300 calories. I've asked myself a question: do I really want that to take that many calories of my daily intake, or do I prefer having like a meal I like? And that's what she did. She preferred having that, higher in fat, still high protein, main meals. So she skipped and stopped with the snacking. So her attitude was like, oh, I don't really want to spend that many calories on the snacks I'm having, because the pleasure from them snacks she had was not as great as the calories. So she was kind of having the awareness of how many calories actually was in the food. He was helping her to make the conscious decision. Do I really want that? Because it's easy. It's so easy when you've got when you don't think about energy in food, and you just have that and that and that and that. And I always say that, you know, if you've got a, let's say, credit card, and you don't know the price of the things, and you've got no limit, you can just keep spending. You will not think about it. But once you, for example, if I say like you've got only that amount of money on your card, and that's the prices of the things, would you now choose more carefully what you're having? And that is exactly the same. Sometimes it's like, once you know there is a limit, you then start putting the priorities, and which food is, you know, aligned with your goals. There's different methods, works for different, you know, everyone is different. But that's a couple of things that I think it was kind of it helped some of the ladies on the program. Another thing that it comes back to, like from here we can move towards, is the free food. If you've ever been on the Slimming World or, you know, Weight Watchers and stuff, there is a food that is like, because it's healthy, it's free. So I had ladies that used to log food and didn't log free food, because thinking like, oh, it's free food, I don't have to count it. But that, when it comes to the food and energy intake, food is energy, and the weight loss is based on energy balance. So once your energy expenditure is higher than the intake, that's when the weight loss is happening. So if a lady was not, you know, counting in bananas and other fruit, actually she was skipping that. And then she got to the point where it was like 3-4 weeks in the program, and it was like, oh, why I'm not losing weight? I'm calorie counting, I'm doing everything, I'm getting my steps in, while I'm not losing weight. So now it was like going deeper into, okay, so what do you count towards your food intake? And she's like, oh, do I have to count fruit as well? Veg as well. Like, yeah, veg are probably, most of them is, you know, is lower in calories, but still, like, fruit is a big contributor to, when it comes to the calories, it's still energy. So I think once, if you come from the background of Slimming World, you may not understand the energy balance behind it. You may not understand that, you know, the free food doesn't mean that it doesn't make you anything, and it's just magically, as you eat it, it just, the calories, I don't know, disappear. They are still there. I think that is another thing. I think it's just understanding the nutrition, understanding the energy balance, understanding what the food hides behind. And for many ladies, it was as well changing and focusing a bit more on the macros, because in the beginning it's hard. Like, I remember when I went to Poland recently, and I said to my mom, she's like, oh, what would you like to have for dinner? And I was like, oh, something with protein. And she's like, oh, what's protein? And I was like, oh, the protein is that. And obviously then she's, as I spent time with her, she's learned that. So she knew that the protein is there. So then she was making meal, and she's like, oh yeah, you need to have your protein. So she kind of remembered. But in the beginning, she had absolutely no clue what's the protein and what I was all about. And I think once you understand a bit more nutrition, and the ladies as well on my program, and start putting a bit more awareness towards how you compose meals. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but because we're not bodybuilders or, you know, any athletes, like at least I'm not. So it's just about managing so you feel fuller for longer. And that's all it is, protein. And then obviously for resistance training. But in the beginning, you may not know, you may not understand, you may find it confusing, overwhelming. It's a lot of learning. It's like, oh, I can't be bothered about that. It doesn't have to be like that, because obviously you can always get supportive things and materials that will show you like, okay, this got that many protein. Especially now in the shops, you go to the shop and very often you see, you know, on the packages, like, oh, that's got that many protein and that's got that many protein. So you are aware of the protein, and you can quickly make your decision in the shops. Another topic is that, you know, they are not the marketers want us to pay more for that protein label on top, but I'm not going into that deep conversation, because then we're going to be here for hours when we go back to the nutrition. But that comes to the awareness of the calories. Another thing, and I think it's really important, and I've probably made that mistake as well myself. But I had a very beginning. Once I had a person wanting to signing up on the coaching, and I usually have the goal form. Yeah, so in the beginning, as you get on the coaching, you've got your goal. So what would you like to achieve? And that person said like, I would like to lose weight. And it was like the next question, like going in the form, is like, what actions are you gonna take to get you closer to your goal? And the actions that the person put in place was like, I'm going to exercise more. And for me, it was kind of, I call it red flag. But for me, it was like, okay, I think we need to go back to the understanding calorie balance and understanding what actually is biggest contributor when it comes to the weight loss. Because exercising is the less efficient, effective way of losing weight. And I feel like sometimes we put a lot of energy in the wrong places. So for example, if we want to lose weight and we go and try to force the gym, whilst we can lose weight being at home, doing 20 minutes workout, going for a walk with family, and just slightly tweaking nutrition, you still get the same goal. But if you're going to try to kill hours in the gym and you're not going to be able to sustain it, you're just putting your energies in the wrong place. So I feel like understanding that if your goal is weight loss, is like, what actions actually taken consistently are going to bring me closer to the weight loss? Because exercising is good and it's really important. It makes you feel good. It gets you like in that, it starts the momentum as well. Because once you exercise, you feel better. When you feel better, everything seems to feel like easier. And so I always encourage everyone to do an exercise. But at the same time, exercising on its own is not going to increase, like it's not going to help in most of the cases, unless you're killing hours in the gym on the treadmill and cross trainer, then it's going to help you lose weight. But other than that, that's probably not the best way of approaching it. And that person didn't get the results because if you put 2,000 steps a day or 3,000 steps a day, and then you've got you still do the workout, you can't still, that energy expenditure is not enough to create that calorie deficit. So what we tend to focus on, and I think what was eye-opening for many members and many of my ladies, and when I've asked this week on the group, I said like, what was the biggest thing that helped you to achieve your goals? And one of the ladies said like walking and increasing the activity, just daily walks. And that worked especially well, and I can tell that on myself as well, for the small frame ladies. So if you're small frame and you feel like, yeah, I can't lose that extra, fat around the belly, just increase your activity. And I'm not saying just run or, just something very hard, difficult. It's just that daily walk and be consistent, get your steps. Because I think sometimes is that secret is hidden in the things that we may not think that are contributing to the weight loss, but they are. And for many ladies, it was like, I remember one of the ladies said like, oh, I feel like, like with my age, I can't do anything, that I'm always gonna have that little extra around the belly, that I'm not going to be able to get rid of it. And obviously she's now pleased that she's achieved the results, that she's never thought that she will. And I know it's possible because obviously that's happened for few members in the team, when that walking was actually amazing and worked so well. And another thing I think that helped a lot of ladies and may help you as well is, sometimes we focus so much on the scale and just wanting to see the progress on the scale. And when we attach ourselves to the scale and the number, that's easy way of starting like feeling frustrated once it went up or goes up, down, especially if you had a good week. And I had that before with one of the ladies on the program. She had a really good week and she's like, I've done everything. I've done my steps. I kept on top of my nutrition. I've done everything. And she said like, and the weight is not going down. And I said like, okay, so I said like, what about your measurements? And she's like, oh, I don't know. So then we've looked on the measurements and she's lost quite a lot of centimeters around. And she's like, oh, did I? And sometimes when you check on a weekly basis, you may not see the results yet visual. You may just look on the scale and want to see that number changing, like defining your progress, but you may not see like your body is adjusting to it, but yet it may not be visible in a way where you just look in the mirror. Most of the times you will see it with time anyway. So I always encourage everyone to try to kind of detach from the scale and focus on the activity, focus on them consistent action, and that is gonna get results anyway. And I know that because I've done it for myself for that many years back. I don't know, 10 years back. And I'm not saying I've got a six pack all year round, but I can quickly get there anytime I want. And it's only because I keep the same, I stick to the habits. And once you've got them habits in place, you will get results. Like, no, there is no questioning around that. And once we've put that attention on the scale to the measurements, that was eye-opening. And the ladies are like, for that many years, I failed in the past. I've always focused on scale, looking on the scale. I've not seen the progress despite my effort, and I've just stopped doing it because I feel like, what's the point? And I think once we kind of put that attention on the scale only, we lose that. We lose the belief in ourselves, I think, and the faith that we're doing it and it's working. And another thing is like, always focus on how you feel. Do you feel you've got more energy? Do you feel better? Do you feel happier? Do you feel like you can maybe get done more in a day? Because I think sometimes we focus so much on just that, seeing that number, that we forget about how do we feel. And I recently asked, somebody said to me like, oh, I've put on 4 pounds or 5 pounds. And I said like, okay. I said like, how do you feel about yourself? Like, how do you feel about yourself? How do you feel with the way you are? Oh, I feel good. I said like, so why do you get upset about this damn few pounds? If you feel good, if you can't feel like much difference in your body, it's just a few pounds. Is it worth like stressing around that? Because like to be fair, like I've not been on a scale since June 2022. I don't even have a scale, so I don't check my weight, but I will adjust. I know when I'm losing or getting the progress is because where I put effort, the more effort I put, the more consistent I am, the more results I get. So what I manipulate, I don't look on the numbers. I only look on my consistent actions, and I want to get as consistent as I can. Another thing that I've recently listened to, and it was like eye-opening, another thing, and that is very, very important. And for many ladies, I think that was another thing that helped them. Once we, let's say, had a weekend and maybe we've eaten a bit more, or we had a break from exercising because we went away for a week. Consistency, it's not necessarily doing things every single day. Consistency is about getting as quick as you can back into your routine. And I had recently on the last little address, I had a lady and she went on holidays. And it was a weekend. And she said like, I don't feel motivated. She's like, I feel like I can't, start back. And I said like, just start as soon as you can and start as little as you can and just get back quickly on it, because the more time you give yourself, the bigger step you're going to make back. And then the further back you are, the harder it is to restart yourself. And it is very normal to feel like that way, like sometimes we make them 2 steps back, but once you push forward as soon as you can, and and bring yourself back, that's the moment. And no, it's not always easy when you're on your own, because you need to take yourself into it. But sometimes when you've got a supportive environment, or if you've got a coach or someone who's there for you, that will bring you back quicker, what I mean? So you are not that far back. It's like, okay, I know I need to get that done, I'm back on it. And it's not always, I know it's not always easy, it's not always like that. And I know not everybody loves exercising as well, so I'm aware of that as well. Yeah, so I'm not naive. It's not, fitness is not the life for everyone. Fitness can be a part of it, or it might not even be a part of it, but we still want to focus on getting the results. So another thing like was on the little red dress recently, one of the ladies said like, I can't see results quick enough, and like I'm feeling like I'm losing motivation because I'm not seeing the results very quickly. And I think like what is sometimes important is like when with the Amazon, we've got now Amazon, we click it and we buy something and we get it delivered the same day. And I think we are so used to having everything so quickly. I remember when I was in Italy, when I was traveling, I was actually booking my train tickets before, just like, or in the train even sometimes, but usually before, like 10 minutes before, because I could do it so easily from my phone. So when I was traveling from in between of the cities, I was just doing straight away on the phone, because I knew that it's going to be instant. I can buy it quickly, I can get it quickly. It was like that. And I think like once we get that quick gratification and quickly we can get what we want, we expect the same when it comes to the weight loss. And I think once we don't see the quick results of our big effort into it, we lose the focus of like, oh yeah, that is only that. But I always said, like, if you imagine like a half a pound each week, you know, over the weeks, it's going to be like 2 pounds a month, and that's going to be over, you know, 12 months, over a year, it's going to be 24 pounds down. So it's like, you may see that as a 0.5 pound, let's say half a pound a week, or sometimes it may not happen even the weight loss, but over the time it's gonna all add up. And I think once we understand that, and I always ask, like, a lot of ladies, like, how long did that take you to put on weight? Because we usually, when we get to the like certain, you know, or in the even uncomfortable place with ourselves, it's like usually it's not a week, it's not a month, it's not a 6 months. Usually it will be like a build up of the over years, sometimes maybe after having a baby, and then, you know, not having the time for yourself, you know, not just always putting yourself as a kind of at the very bottom of the priority list. You know, as the time goes, we then think like, okay, that is the time for a change, and we want to, you know, put the effort, we want to change, and the results are not coming as fast as we want to. And I always say, like, it's always, not always, but it's better sometimes to but just to actually just accept that the results, slower results, doesn't mean that it's worse, because to establish habit, it takes long time. And people say like, oh, it's 20 days or 50 days, you know, there's different numbers for how long it takes to establish habit. But at the same time, it's like, it's really, really important that if you've got and you're doing consistent action for a longer period of time, you're more likely to sustain it. But if you're focusing only on the 6 weeks and you feel like, oh, okay, after 6 weeks I'm done, and you're going to come back to your old habits, that's probably where, you know, where you may be going not right. So having that routine and focusing on the process over the time, and not really thinking about just a bracket, okay, that is my 6, 8, 12 weeks before holidays or, you know, any other occasion, but just thinking like, okay, this 6 weeks I'm gonna ground my habits, and then I'm gonna keep going as that 6 weeks is gonna pass, and then just continue doing that. And once you got that and just focus on the process, you're gonna get results anyway, and you're gonna be astonished. And it's always like, you know, when you walk up the hill and you feel like you're not really moving up, you know, but then you get to the top and you feel like, oh wow, I've walked all that, you know. It's like, it's one of them things where you can be proud of yourself looking from the top on all the hard work you've done. But once you're doing the job, all the work, you know, all the steps up, you may not feel like you're moving forward. You may feel like, oh, I'm putting so much effort, and, you know, I still can't see the results. But believe me, like, as you go up, and you're going to keep going and be consistent with your actions, and that's going to be directed to your goal. So rather than just exercising, you know, for hours, just be mindful and just, you know, just choose the right action for your goal. And that's where you're going to start seeing the progress. And I think lastly, it's going to be focused on what you control. There's so many things in life that, you know, that is happening and we don't have impact on it, and it's from the life situations, from losing jobs, from losing people we love, from being poorly, from having injuries. There's so many different things that may affect you. And, you know, it's like I always say, like, have that self-compassion towards yourself, because when you're going through the hard patch and it's like it's just difficult time for you, it's hard to be positive, and, you know, it's you know, just find that energy. Sometimes you'll be going through the things that are going to keep you in bed, and you will just physically not be able to move off the bed, and that is fine. And this time may happen in your life, but this time is not going to last forever. You know, you may have an injury of the upper body, and recently I was speaking to someone, and someone said like, oh, you know what, I've got injured shoulder, I can't do anything in the gym. And it's like, yeah, but your legs are still, you know, it's still good. So like, focus on what you can do. It's like, oh, I had a lady on the first Red Dress program, I had a lady and she had a bad back. And it was so bad that not only she could not exercise, but she could not walk. So she couldn't get the 10,000 steps. She couldn't like exercise and do all the jumpy stuff. And what actually happened is she's lost a stone. She's lost a stone. So for 5 weeks out of 6 weeks of the program, she was not able to actually do exercise or walk a lot. I think she was doing like 2,000 to 3,000 steps maximum. But she's focused on what she could control, and she focused on nutrition. And I always say that you may have the injury stopping you from, let's say, lifting weights, can you do and swim? Can you go and increase your activity and walk? So there is always a way of finding that solution. And I'm not saying like, push yourself over the limit. There is there is that balance in between knowing when, but there is still the things that you can do and you can control. I don't know if you know, but if when I used to box, I cut my thumb like in half. So I had a brand new blender, and I put my hand in the blender. Like not. It was not working. I was just trying to take the blades from inside of the blender, and they were so sharp because it was brand new. I took it up and I just cut my thumb in half. And I was preparing at that time for a fight, I cut the nerves, and and that was a week before my boxing fight, and I couldn't do it. So instead of me saying like, oh, I can't do anything, I will do nothing, I wrapped the thumb up with the bandages and I went to the gym. I was just doing lower body. I was on the stepper, I was on the I was just focusing on the lower body. I was doing that for weeks until the thumb recovered, and that took a bit of time. But I was not, I was not accepting to be defeated. And I feel like once you get into that mindset of just focus on what you control, then you can kind of go through the life with achieving your results. And that can be on every level, from weight loss, to any personal goal. Once you just shift your focus. So I think that's the main things. But from the things that when I've asked my ladies, they've mentioned as well meal prep. That is one of the things that really help them to keep the results and help them to achieve the results. So meal prepping. And another lady was as well mentioning keeping and sticking to the same type of food. So it's like, I know what calories is in them meals, so I'm going to just stick to them meals. And then if I let's say implement new meal, then I just check the calories, because that's something I'm not aware of. So just keeping like having the same meals in a day and keeping it simple, that help for a lot of my ladies. Shifting the mindset from the fat diet and not expecting the quick result, just knowing that the result will come as a part of the process anyway. Understanding nutrition and calories, we've said that before, it's a big one. Shifting from the free food, having the routine, and then just increasing the activity. So I think that's the things that my ladies mention. And from my perspective, for over that many years of training, and not just training, because sometimes when I was traveling, I was not really training as much. Sometimes there was a gym like on the side of the beach, but very often there was not much. So it was like just doing yoga sometimes, or just doing runs, but it was not very standardized, it was not a 6 weeks program, but I just still kept and stuck to the things that I could do. So if I could, focus on walking and could focus on nutrition, that's probably what I did. And I think like for me, the biggest thing is like just keeping the routine going and making sure it's enjoyable. And I think the enjoyable is like with big E here, because I love fitness, but I used to hate it. I never went on the PE classes, and I just was just writing in the notebook. I was writing like my daughter cannot attend the session today because she's got a bad back or whatever. There was plenty of excuses not to do it. I absolutely hated running, and I hated being told what to do. And I think that is one of the big things. Like I really struggle with that. So for myself to say now, to be on the other side of enjoying the fitness is like finding the way to make it enjoyable. And I think like that is one of the secrets and one of the things that I can really recommend, because I know not everybody's fitness lover and not everybody will like the same things, and as well as that things can get boring as well. So you may find yourself that you may enjoy weights and lifting weights for some weeks, and then you may enjoy doing boxing, and then you may enjoy something else. So it's like not sticking to just one thing. It's just making sure you enjoy it, and you just like mold it towards what you want. Once you enjoy it, it's gonna be just easier. It's so much easier when you enjoy it, and then you're gonna start seeing the progress. I remember in the very, very beginning when I went to the gym, it was my first gym I joined. And somebody said to me like, oh, people don't realize how much hard work it is, to get the results you get. And I was like, what do you mean hard work? You know what I mean? Like, I enjoy it so much. Like I can't feel it as a hard work. For me, it was so enjoyable. I was like, it didn't feel like not even once for hard work. Yeah, it's this physical work, it's a physical it may feel physically hard, but it's not hard work to actually do it because it's so rewarding. And I was like, no, I don't really get what you mean, because I enjoyed it so much. And I think that is one of the things that is part of my coaching, my classes, you know, my sessions with me is always like enjoyable. You always get that feeling of you want to do it, you don't force it, you know, you do it because you want to, and that is enjoyable, and you know, you get the energy from it. And once you just enjoy it, it flows with the things. And I think that is gonna be, I think that's gonna be it for today's live. I said it's gonna be very long. So if you've lasted all, well done for that. As always, I'm gonna save it for you. I don't think I've got any questions from today, but hopefully, you know, when you're gonna come across this one, you're gonna find it beneficial. And we will be very, very soon catching on some more stuff that I'm planning for you. So I'm counting on you to be here with me and join me on the live tone-ups we're going to do together. So yeah, we're going to have a mixture. So we're going to do some kettlebells, we're going to do some different things. So just keep an eye on my stories, because I'll be putting more information about what's coming very, very soon. So that is it. It's snowing today, so it's time to go and enjoy the rest of your day. Take care. I hope you've enjoyed that and you're going to get something beneficial for yourself from this talk. And yes, if you need anything, you can always message me and contact me directly. Take care and speak soon. Bye-bye.